So during the early stages of the pandemic, local authorities were faced with many challenges. After the initial closing down of all but essential businesses and services, local authorities were faced with ways to support the reopening of business and society at a time when social distancing was still a major concern and public transport capacity was reduced significantly, between 50 and 75%. So it was in this context that Dún Laoghaire and Dublin embarked on their COVID mobility and public realm programme, which involved the rapid installation of the coastal mobility route to provide an alternative means to public transport and the private car for people to get about. This involved the reallocation of one lane of the coastal road, running from Blackrock to Sandy Cove, to a two-way lane for cycling, scooting and even jogging. Prior to COVID-19, this sort of road space reallocation for active travel is quite common in a European context, but was much more rare within Ireland.
Since autumn 2020, the Sustainable Mobility Research Group at TU Dublin have been independently monitoring and evaluating the coastal mobility route and its impact on people walking, cycling, taking public transport and vehicular transport. We've also been talking to businesses and community representatives about their ideas and thoughts for the future. And what we've found has been really interesting for the coastal mobility route and its environs, but also for other active travel and public realm projects around the country. Although the patterns of activity on the route varies with the seasons and over time, over the full year from summer 2021 to summer 2022, what we found was, as a cycling route, this was the strongest and best used cycling route in Dún Laoghaire and Dublin County Council and one of the best performing routes across the Dublin region. Like in many cities around the world, during the early to mid stages of the pandemic, there was a real boom in people out cycling and walking, especially during the warmer months of summer and spring. As the COVID restrictions eased, people returned to the workplace and usage patterns of walking and cycling changed again.
But the coastal route operates differently from the more typical inland commuter-style cycle route. It really caters for a wide range of journey types. It caters for recreation and a well-being function as well as being a transport corridor. So this can be seen in its daily usage patterns. Not only is it used during the morning and evening peak hours, it's also well used during the daytime, more so than your typical cycle lane. And it's really well used at weekends. So what's particularly noteworthy about the coastal mobility route is how well used it is by a wide range of people and age groups, from young to old, from children to families, to swimmers to workers, both men and women. We know this because for the last 3 years, during October, when the good weather starts to fade, we've been taking a health check to see who's still using the route. The segregation on the route means that a lot more people will feel more comfortable and safer using it as they're separated from motorised traffic. It's also very popular for walkers, particularly high levels of female walkers. Although there has not been many specific interventions for pedestrians, the environment is better and safer for all because of the substantially reduced levels of passing car traffic.
Motor traffic and vehicular access are often major concerns for businesses and local residents. Our analysis looked at monitoring changing traffic levels through the various stages of the pandemic and also looking at changing levels of traffic in the coastal region compared to other parts of the county and also compared to the pre-pandemic situation. We found that shortly after the coastal mobility route was put in place, there was evidence of increased traffic levels in adjacent villages like Glasstool and Monkstown, especially at weekends. This was at a time when, because of COVID restrictions, that coastal destinations were very popular destinations, particularly at weekends. Over time, traffic patterns tended to settle down and become more similar to pre-COVID levels. As we move through the particular phases of the pandemic, we can see that traffic levels fluctuated, with green showing less congestion, red showing more congestion. But as we reached the final stages of the COVID period, things had largely settled, which is very typical for this type of scenario. During the early and mid stages of the pandemic, the coastal mobility route demonstrated a real boom in people cycling and walking, and then over time settled down to be a strong performer across the Dublin region.
So there are some critical points along the route where cyclists are exposed to difficult and sometimes unsafe conditions, particularly in spots like the Colkey Bridge Crofton Road area. Addressing these gaps properly should lead to more usage by a greater range of people as the network effect sets in. Following feedback from stakeholders and through our own assessment, we've made a number of recommendations how the area can be further improved for walkers and those with accessibility needs. So these would include the introduction of step-free crossing points at key locations along the route that really send that message of pedestrian priority. For example, at the Sea Point Albany Avenue junction to meet that desire line to and from the beach, and at the busy bath site in the heart of Dún Laoghaire. We found evidence of high traffic speeds in certain spots. For such a busy amenity area, it's really important that traffic is calmed, mainly motorised, but sometimes bike traffic too, so that people, families, visitors, residents feel safe walking and crossing both the road and the cycle path.
Our interviews with businesses and representative groups noted that a number of businesses recognised the improved conditions for staff brought about by the reduced traffic and better environment, and they also noted the potential for new business and opportunities through increased footfall in the area. While not the case for everyone, most businesses were either positive or value neutral towards the coastal mobility route's economic impact, and most businesses either supported or accepted its ongoing presence. Based on our study findings, we made a number of recommendations to Dún Laoghaire County Council to further improve the business operating environment and economic development of the area. These included the importance of ongoing communication with stakeholders, better wayfinding, and making sure that there is sufficient loading bays for businesses. It's also vital to ensure that high quality materials and finishes are used in the public realm suitable to such a historic and high amenity location.
The pandemic has fundamentally changed how people are using the coast. It's created an opportunity to use the space in a way that many people would have previously not thought possible. Overall, we have found a well-used, well-established and generally well-liked amenity and transport route that links Blackrock to Monkstown to Dún Laoghaire, Glastool and on to Sandy Cove. Based on our findings, we would expect the route to become even more popular and attract greater level of usage, particularly among women, children, older people and those with additional needs. If those gaps in the network are addressed, pedestrian facilities are improved and traffic is calmed. For business and tourism development, it is important that we improve wayfinding, access to loading bays, and that any infrastructure is made from high quality materials and finishes that are suitable for this historic context. But it's also really critical that we have ongoing investment in high quality public transport. Transport, of course, is really important, but it is just one function. The coast above all is a place where people come to relax and enjoy. So it's really important that the public realm is welcoming and comfortable for all. For more details on the study, please take a look at the TU Dublin website.